The Romney-Ryan campaign team kicked off their new ticket in Norfolk, Virginia, and with them was, of course, the governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell. Joining me now to talk more about the choice of Paul Ryan and what it does to the campaign is Governor McDonnell. Thank you very much. You also, of course, were in the running to be on the ticket. I wanted to ask you first about the vet. How difficult was it for you to provide all the information that they wanted? Apparently, Beth Myers conducted a very intense review of all of the possibilities.
Well, I thought Governor Romney made a great choice. He had a lot of options, so I think we have a very talented bench and team. And just to be mentioned in those with those other great leaders was an honor for me. But I'm thrilled with this pick. I mean, this now laser focuses the issues on the economy and jobs and debt and deficit, the things that President Obama's been trying to avoid. He wants to talk about everything from tax returns to Bain Capital to contraception. But the people of America are concerned about getting the great country out of debt and back to work, Andrea. So I think this was the right choice. Nobody knows more about the federal budget than Paul Ryan. He'll be a great asset to Mitt.
Can we just, before we leave the subject of the vet, can you tell us how many years of tax returns you submitted?
No, but thanks for asking. I can only tell you they had everything that they needed for me and everybody else to make a very good decision, and that decision was great. I think Romney-Ryan sounds like Ronald Reagan, the double R team. So this is going to be a great ticket for our GOP, our Great Opportunity Party, and the contrast between their vision to solve the problems in America and the small ball campaign of Barack Obama so far is going to be a great choice for the independent voters.
Graceful pivot, Governor. Moving on to the subject of some of the possible pitfalls that we've seen already. The Florida newspaper front pages were heralding the Medicare cuts in the Ryan budget, and we should point out that there were two Ryan budgets and that he lifted the cap on some of the paybacks, in the second budget, but it's still pretty severe. Do you have concerns about that and about the possibility of losing Florida, losing seniors, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, other states where you have a lot of senior citizens?
Well, first I'd say that the program that Paul Ryan put together on Medicare reform was one he put together with Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon. They put this together. Secondly, I would say that President Obama's taken about $700 billion out of Medicare for the funding of Obamacare, so I don't think we need to be lectured by the president when he's done some things to Medicare. But here's the bottom line, Andrea, is we're in trouble. I mean, our country is going broke. We're $16 trillion in debt. The president proposed a budget to get us to $25 trillion by 2021. He can't get a budget passed for 3.5 years because Harry Reid won't take it up. I mean, this is an administration that's really been reckless with the United States of America's finances. So finally, we're going to have a serious discussion. And look, everybody knows there's no easy way to balance this budget as big a problems as we've got without significant cuts and entitlement reform.
Governor, one thing that came up last night on 60 Minutes was that Governor Romney seemed to be stepping away from the Ryan budget. Let me play a little bit of that.
Well, I have my budget plan, as you know, that I've put out, and that's the budget plan that we're going to run on.
Does he have to be more specific now about exactly how he's going to accomplish this to create some distance, perhaps, with the Ryan budget proposals?
Well, I think he will be specific, but I didn't look at that as distancing from that. I think, in fact, he said he'd probably have signed that if that got to him. But there are so many complexities in a budget. Of course, he's going to have his own ideas. But the reason he's bringing Paul Ryan in is because Paul Ryan had the honesty to look at the American people and say, you know what, we cannot afford the same level of spending. Politicians have overpromised for 30 years now. The bills are due. We're going broke. We're starting to look like Greece or Portugal. We can't do it anymore. I mean, that's an honest answer. I think people are ready for straight talk, Andrea. And now we're going to have a serious conversation, not about tax returns or Bain Capital, but about how do we get America out of debt, back to work, and whether or not it's more entitlements and spending by Barack Obama or whether it's more opportunity and more growth through the free enterprise system of Ryan and Romney. I mean, that's what this election's about. And I think it's going to be a good debate, and I think Romney will win because that's the focus of this election.
And in the category of straight talk, let's just put it on the table that what the president did with his Medicare cuts was to slow the growth of the rate of increase, which is exactly what Republicans have been calling for. Perhaps he didn't do it enough to satisfy Republicans, but you all are criticizing him now for exactly what Republicans have been calling for quite some time.
Well, the point is, if you look at the whole 3.5 years, the question for the voters is, are you really better off now than you were 4 years ago? And when you have 8% unemployment rate for this long and gas prices doubling and a $16 trillion national debt, the president, the bottom line, has not been willing to take on the overall tough challenges for Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and other entitlement reforms. In fact, he's basically letting $600 billion in defense cuts through sequestration go into effect with nary a whimper. So I would say that, look, it's tough decision making, and the president has made some attempt, but the policies have failed, Andrea. You don't have the metrics and you don't have the results to show for it, which means it's time for new leadership.
Thanks very much, Governor Bob McDonnell of Virginia.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us today. Good to see you. And